Hello and welcome back to the Stronger Than Steel podcast. My name is John Kier, and with me in person for the first time doing the show is Austin Davidson.
Ayo!
It is a lovely, if not freezing, Sunday morning. We are doing a brief little pregame show as circumstances are a little different today, with Austin coming up to see the game with us. We're hoping for a Steelers win as the Steelers are now 7-5, traveling to frigid and snowy Buffalo. Let's take a look at the playoff picture, Austin, shall we?
Yep.
The Steelers are in contention for 3 different spots. Obviously, their division is the prime goal, but you're also looking at 2 wildcard spots, which are currently owned by 2 AFC West teams. That's a really strong division this year, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I've heard it from my Broncos fan all year.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the remaining schedule for these teams. Starting off with the Ravens, the Steelers are obviously going to want to win the division first and foremost. The Ravens have games left starting this week at New England on Monday night. Then they have the Eagles at home, are at Pittsburgh, and then at Cincinnati. How do you think those games are going to turn out?
Well, I think they're going to finish the year 2-2, taking losses to both the Patriots and the Steelers, and they'll just miss the playoffs at 9-7. But they obviously will beat the Cincinnati Bengals and the Eagles, but it won't be enough. They needed it to beat us.
I agree with you completely there. I think they have 2 tough games against the definitely the Patriots, and I think the Steelers are going to be able to win that one, hopefully. But I do think they'll take care of business against the Eagles and Bengals. Moving into the wild card, we have the Raiders and the Broncos. How do you think those teams are going to do?
I think the Raiders are going to finish 2-1, taking a loss to Denver in the final week of the regular season. They're going to beat the other 2 teams, and they're going to finish the season 12-4.
I also agree with you on that account that they will have the exact same record to those particular teams. Speaking of the Broncos, how do you think they're going to do?
The Broncos are going to go 2-2, just like the Ravens, beating both the Titans and the Raiders, leaving them at a record of 10-6 for the season, but they'll make the playoffs.
This is the one where I disagreed with you on. I see the Broncos going 3-1. I actually have them beating the Patriots. Just seeing that game last year, even though Trevor Siemian and Brock Osweiler are 2 different players, I like the Broncos at home. They don't lose there very often, so I think they'll beat them and the Titans and Raiders, and I think they'll lose to the Chiefs and get swept there. Speaking of the Chiefs, I also have them going 3-0.
Oh, I completely agree. The Chiefs are finishing the season strong at 13-3.
So that means, in all likelihood, the Steelers are only going to make the playoffs if they win their division. So in order to win their division, they're going to have to pretty much win out here. So looking at the injury report, you see it right here in front of me. Who sticks out here the most to you for the Steelers?
Ooh, it seems to be missing one person. It doesn't have Darius Hayward-Bay on it, but he is one of them. But then from the list in front of me, Javon Hargrave. He was starting to do so well. He was stepping up because he was getting more playing time than normal. And I think the Steelers are going to miss him because he's probably not playing. It's doubtful, but...
Just so I don't have the same answer as you, I'm going to go with Chris Boswell. As you know, kicking in bad weather conditions is difficult, and while Randy Bullock played well last week, I'm a little concerned about if he might have to play again. I've been to a lot of games in Buffalo over the past few years, and I can tell you that the wind is really an issue there sometimes. So if Boswell can't go, Randy Bullock may need to be at the top of his game if the Steelers are hoping to win. Rounding out the injury report, you mentioned Hayward-Bay. I believe he's been ruled out.
Mm-hmm.
You have Javon Hargrave, as you mentioned, was doubtful. Ramon Foster is questionable. I think he's expected to play. Chris Boswell is a game-time decision. Shamarko Thomas is out, and D'Angelo Williams is questionable. Just a few players on the Bills side. Robert Woods, Sammy Watkins, Charles Clay, and Kyle Williams are all questionable. Leantry McCray, their linebacker, is out. So moving forward to the preview, what's a brief overview of what the Steelers' offense is going to see today?
I think they're going to do decently against this team. The struggles come in the secondary, where the Bills have 2 good corners and a great safety in Darby Gilmore and Corey Graham, respectively. The Bills' defensive line is nothing to write home about, and the linebackers are just decent, so it shouldn't be too hard of a game. It just all comes from the secondary. What do you think?
I think that, as I said before with Dallas, although Dallas might be a little different of a case because they're a better football team, I think the Bills' defensive numbers might be inflated simply because of how good the Bills are at keeping the ball, hence how good their running game is. I think that their defensive line isn't what it was a few years ago as far as getting after the quarterback. They can still get pressure, and in this kind of game where the weather is going to be a factor, I don't think they're going to be as effective as one would expect. You already mentioned the great athleticism in the secondary. I expect Roethlisberger to take his classic few deep shots, but I don't think it's going to be amounting to much in this kind of weather. The Steelers are going to have to win this game on the ground, and I think they have the personnel to do it. Le'Veon Bell's been on fire the last few weeks, and I just keep giving it to him until it doesn't work. As far as the passing game goes, we saw what Ladarius Green could do. I expect him to play another big factor. I still see the Steelers having trouble getting in the end zone in this game. I think the weather and the difficulties throwing the ball because of the weather is going to make it difficult for the Steelers to score. Moving on to the other side of the ball, we've talked about it all week, you and I. We even talked a little bit about it last week. It's kind of the opposite of the Giants, where the Giants couldn't run the ball and could throw the ball. The Bills are the opposite. They can't really throw the ball, but they're the best rushing team in football. The Steelers have played 4 top 10 teams in rushing this year, and they've gotten gashed by all 4. How is this going to be any different? Is it going to be any different?
We're just going to have to see, because we only have 4 healthy D linemen right now. So, it's going to be a true test for them. I personally think we're going to get gashed. It's just going to happen. LeGarrette Blount gashed us, which is a rough one. So, I think LaShawn McCoy, Gillislee, and Tyrod Taylor are going to rush all over this. But I think it won't be enough, since their passing offense is nothing. What do you think?
It's interesting. I keep talking about the weather. It's interesting if the weather is bad enough. I actually think it could be an advantage for the Steelers, and that might be surprising because usually if there's bad weather, it favors a better running team. But I think the thing that makes the Bills the number 1 rushing team, yes, LaShawn McCoy has been great, and Gillislee as the backup has been good too. But the thing that's put the Bills over the top with their rushing game has been Tyrod Taylor with either designed runs or just scrambling out of the pocket and making plays with his legs. I think that if the weather's bad enough, it might not neutralize Taylor, but it's going to definitely decrease his speed when he's trying to get out of the pocket. I think that can help the Steelers key in on LaShawn McCoy a little bit. They probably won't stop him. I don't think they will, but they might be able to contain him a little bit. And if you're the Steelers, you definitely want to get up early and score and make the Bills play from behind because, as we mentioned, they are the 32nd ranked team in passing offense. That is the worst in football. So they are not a team that's geared towards comebacks. So as far as the defensive game plan goes, you got to do whatever you can to slow down the run game. What's your key matchup today, or your X factor?
My X factor is going to be Antonio Brown versus Darby or Gilmore, whoever decides to shadow him or whoever's on his side. I don't know what the Bills are, what they're trying to do, if they're having someone shadow him or just doing the side of the field he's on. But I think that's going to be key in this game. If Antonio Brown doesn't get locked down by Darby and Gilmore, it should be an easy breezy.
For me, I have the key matchup as whoever is going to be following Tyrod Taylor around on defense. I think the only way the Steelers are going to hope to contain Taylor, as I mentioned, he's already a dangerous player on the ground. He can throw the ball. They just don't like to throw the ball that often. I think the Steelers are going to have to put a quarterback spy on for someone on the defense the entire game. I don't think it should be one of the inside linebackers, certainly not Lawrence Timmons. If it's Ryan Shazier, you might be able to get away with that, but then, who's your man on LaShawn McCoy? I think it's either going to be Sean Davis or... Actually, I think Sean Davis might be the best option for that, don't you think? I mean, is there anyone else that sticks out to you?
Shazier would have been the only one, and Shazier needs to probably be on LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, so I think it's going to have to be Sean Davis as the guy that's on Tyrod Taylor, just someone that follows him around, just watches his eyes, make sure he doesn't break contain, and if he does, he have to be there. So I think Sean Davis is going to have to be the key player on defense today. What are your bold predictions for today?
I only got one today. Only one. It's a big one, though. Le'Veon Bell is going to have 200 yards from scrimmage, 150 rushing, 50 passing, 50 yards from passing, and a touchdown. It's going to be a big game for Le'Veon Bell because of the weather.
Absolutely. For me, I have something a little odd, but I have 4 total turnovers today and 4 total fumbles. I think both teams are going to fumble twice and lose one each. and I think both quarterbacks are going to have an interception. The Steelers' secondary has been playing much better of late, and they're going against a team that can't throw the ball very well. And on the other side, we already know about Ben Roethlisberger's home versus road splits. That, in addition to Le'Veon Bell's fumbling propensity lately, and I just think the weather is just too much. I think there's going to be a lot of turnovers in this game. I think it's going to be a sloppy game. And unfortunately, I don't see the Steelers stopping the run very well, and I think that's going to lead to the Bills winning 23-17 because I just don't see the Steelers offense getting into the end zone with their big play capabilities in this kind of weather. What about you?
I think the Steelers are going to win 24-20, and it's going to be a close one. I was really tempted to actually have it 21-20 because of the weather, but I think one more field goal will happen.
I definitely think there's going to be a couple missed field goals. I have the Bills at 23 because I think they miss an extra point, at least one today. I just think the weather could be different. We're in Rochester, New York, which is about an hour east. It's not snowing right now, but it's also not game time, and it's not Buffalo. Buffalo's surrounded by two different lakes. Lake effect snow is definitely a big thing up there. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap this up here?
Nope.
All right, well, we wanted to thank you for joining us on a special edition of the Stronger Than Steel podcast. We don't plan on doing this kind of thing often where we do a Sunday morning pregame show. Maybe we will someday, but we'll probably be back to our regular schedule next week. As we said, Austin and I are both going to the game today, so we are not going to be able to live tweet today. So we apologize for that in advance, and we wanted to thank you for your patience and thank you for listening to us. If you have any questions, you can email the show at thestrongerthansteelpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Facebook and SoundCloud under that same name. You can follow us on Twitter at STSPodcast1. Austin, thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to do it in person, and go Steelers, right?
Yep. Thank you for having me.
Take care.